Hey, everybody, welcome to the Buck Brief. Erin Perrine, political consultant extraordinaire, joins us right now to talk about the debate, which will be going on in the next 24 hours. Trump-Biden, also some big race results that are expected in the future and that have already happened in Congress, in the Senate, you name it. But Erin, give everybody a little bit of your background, because I like people to know who they're hearing from on this stuff. You've been in this game at a high level for a while.
I have been working in campaigns, politics, and on Capitol Hill for 15 plus years now. I've worked for the likes of Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator John Thune, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. In 2020, I worked on the Trump reelect as Director of Press Communications. I worked at Never Back Down, the Super PAC, as Communications Director, and now I am at Axiom Strategies as a political consultant. So spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill and in campaigns, and here I am.
All right, so we got a big presidential debate coming up. How will it matter in your mind in this election, depending on the likeliest outcomes? Like, what are your expectations for when people wake up Friday morning? I know we haven't we haven't watched the debate yet. It hasn't happened yet as we're sitting here. What are your expectations for if it's a good night for Trump? How and what does that look like?
If it's a good night for Donald Trump, he is steady, measured, punching back in the way that he is so good at, in this really astute moment. He takes what he's given as a comment and he can retort very quickly, but that it's policy focused and not personality focused. Where Donald Trump's personality can be the winning factor is in those really great quick quips and retorts when he gets the opportunity to speak, but not the overly interjecting. That kind of personality is great. But when you're looking at the 6 in 10 Americans are saying right now to pollsters they plan on watching the debate. If you have any persuadable margin that sits in there, which I'm sure the majority of those folks might be, when you look at that group, what are you telling them message-wise? For Donald Trump to win the night, he needs to be forward-looking on his economic agenda. And he can say, and I did it before. He wants to be forward-looking on his immigration agenda, and I did it before. But as much as he just touches back, he's telling the people what he's going to be doing as a contrast point to Joe Biden.
Do you have any concerns that it's just effectively impossible for Trump to get a fair enough? I mean, there's no such thing as perfectly fair when you have a debate moderator, to be clear. I mean, I think that people, whether it's just like a referee of a sports event, right? Like, people are going to get some calls right, some calls wrong. People are going to be a little biased one way or the other. But fair enough, I think, is what you can ask for, or the best you can ask for in a presidential debate. Can he get that with CNN, or is that already out the window?
I'd like to believe he can get that with CNN. This is a really big opportunity for the network itself to show that when they've gone through this really rapid evolution between the CEOs, Chris Licht, and everybody else that's come in and out, that they really have come more to the center and have become less leaning. If Jake Tapper and Dana Bash don't make themselves the news in this debate, that for Donald Trump would be a win as well, and would be as about as fair a shake as he can get. Because when they make themselves the story, if they interject, if they try to do fact checking in real time, which we've seen with CNN moderators in the past, we want to go really back to Candy Crowley when she tried to correct Mitt Romney when he was debating Barack Obama. She was wrong in her correction at the time. So as long as they're not making themselves the story, this is as fair a shake, I think, as Donald Trump's going to be able to get.
And in terms of the Biden, what do you think? I mean, having worked in comms with different campaigns, is the Biden strategy? Yeah, I know. Be able to stand up for 90 minutes, that might be a challenge. Look awake for there's some of that. But what do you think they're trying to get out of this? Is it really just as simple as Joe Biden isn't somebody who should be in like a care home for, seniors who are in decline? I mean, is it that simple and therefore low expectations that he has to beat? Or is there a messaging component that they think they'll be able to get out of it that might start to turn the polls around in their favor?
So one thing about debates is debates don't pick campaign winners, they pick campaign losers. If you have a bad moment in a debate, it can tank your entire campaign cycle. Now, the Youngkin-McAuliffe race in Virginia a couple years ago, Terry McAuliffe was already on a bit of a slide downwards, but in his debate versus Glenn Youngkin, he talked about parents not being able to be involved in their children in school and touting that as a good thing. That was clipped, it went viral, and that really put the nail in the Terry McAuliffe coffin. So for Joe Biden here, what he needs to be able to, if what I anticipate his team is doing right now, is going through everything Donald Trump has said within the last 6 months and finding lines that Biden can deliver that they believe will knock Trump off his mark, off his steady beacon in the middle, so that he becomes more bombastic and tries to shout over the muted mics and starts to get agitated and looks like he's becoming too aggressive. That's my guess on what the Biden team is doing, because if they knock Trump off their mark and make it more of a personality versus a policy fight, that's when Joe Biden will likely do what could be considered well. One thing I will say is no one should lower the bar on Joe Biden being able to show up at this debate. He has had 50 years of practice. This man is a politician by trade. And while he might be hunkered down at Camp David, which is more exclusive than Davos and the World Economic Forum at this point with his 16 right-hand people, if he shows up and does what he did at the State of the Union, which, listen, I don't think that was a perfect State of the Union address. He was yelling, he got bombastic, but overall, he got very high marks. If he does that, which with all of the prep, and everybody should be asking themselves, why does our sitting president need to take almost an entire week off of work when we have a crisis at the southern border? The economy is still not strong enough. We see geopolitical catastrophe. He has to take the entire week off to study on Donald Trump, who he's run against before, to try and show up for 90 minutes. That is what worries me. But don't lower the bar on Biden, because they are taking this time. They are taking this week to get him as ready as they can to stand on that debate stage and look presidential.
Erin, I want to get your take on some of the congressional primary results that we've seen, specifically, or most notably in New York, with the ouster from his seat of Jamaal Bowman. But first up, before we get there, I just want to tell everybody about Porter and Company. Look, Porter Stansberry has been a good friend of mine for a decade now, and he's done something that's really interesting. He's changed his compensation entirely, and he's a guy who runs a very successful company. He's the CEO and founder. He gets paid $1 a year. You might be saying, well, why does he do that? Porter believes there's a new form of money that means that you can get paid in a much better way than just straight cash compensation. Now, this isn't just for CEOs. It's not just for people in certain businesses. This is something that is available to anyone, but you have to know how this new means of getting paid works. It's not gold or Bitcoin. Porter says everyone's entitled to use this secret currency, but few know much about it. Change that. Learn from Porter. He wants to talk to you about it himself. Check out Porter's latest detailed presentation at secretcurrency2024.com. He details how to protect and grow your wealth in the years to come using America's new money. Secretcurrency2024.com is the website to go check out this presentation. That's secretcurrency2024.com. All right, Erin, the Bowman loss in New York's, I forget, is it the 17th, the 14th? I forget which congressional district it is, but it's in the Bronx and Westchester in New York City. The Jamaal Bowman loss is interesting and getting a lot of national attention. It's a Democrat who won, obviously. It's in a primary, and that Democrat's going to win the seat. What do you see that happened there that could affect other races? What dynamics were at play?
There are a number of dynamics. One is that Bowman represents the most radical progressive portion of the Democratic left, right? You are looking at a squad member who was saying incredibly anti-Semitic things, and the AIPAC, which is Israel-related super PAC, they stood up money and really played into this race. But also, you saw that not only was this anti-Semitic rhetoric condemned and ousted from office as it should have been, but it's showing that the furthest reaches of the radical left, those who really are AOC, Priya Jayapal, Bowman himself, are no longer being seen. Cori Bush is in a very close primary right now with her race almost statistically tied, because these radical left positions are being rejected by more moderate Democrats. That should be a warning sign to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is currently looking at a Democrat primary electorate that has rejected him time and again. And it's been that progressive portion of the primary electorate that has been more on the side of Gaza and Hamas than they have been on Israel's ability to protect themselves. That is being rejected now by Democrats. So while Joe Biden isn't doing what he needs to do when it comes to standing up and protecting Jewish citizens in LA who are being attacked at synagogues, when he's not doing enough to shut down anti-Semitic rhetoric on campuses, the Democratic base is rejecting that. So not only have the progressives rejected Joe Biden throughout the primary, we've seen many states throughout the primary process where uncommitted, no vote, Democrats would show up but say not Joe Biden. So the progressive left is being rejected by Democrats, but Joe Biden is trying to appease that progressive left to try and keep the Democrat coalition base together for him to then be able to pivot to the middle for general election messaging to try and win in November. This fracture in the Democrat Party right now, the rejection of the progressive left as Joe Biden continues to play that way, with more moderate Democrats saying this isn't what we want, really spells catastrophe for Joe Biden in the fall. Because if he cannot shore up this Democratic coalition base, he's never going to be able to be talking to persuadable voters. His message on national television will be about appeasing the radical left and continuing to propose policies that do just that, or taking in action at the behest of the radical left. Those are going to be huge issues for him when it is independents that will be deciding this election in the fall, and he's got a fractured Democrat Party.
I want to come in and talk to you about Trump is saying, or at least there's reporting that he may announce his VP very soon, certainly in the next couple of weeks. Some have even said he might do it before the debate tomorrow. We'll see. I want to know if you have a take on the VP role in terms of how it could affect this election, and if you have somebody you think will be or would even be the best choice. We'll get to that in a second, though, because I want to talk about Bear Creek Arsenal here. A quality rifle costs a lot of money, right? Well, not necessarily. Not with Bear Creek Arsenal. They make high-performance firearms. I mean, incredibly accurate, durable, well-made, and they feel good in your hands. I know because I use them myself. I've got 3 Bear Creek Arsenal firearms. I'm out at the range with them, and these are top quality. And when you see the prices you can pay for Bear Creek Arsenal, it will blow your mind. You've got to go to the site yourself. They've got 26 calibers available on the website. The recently released 8.6 Blackout is amazing. They're even so confident in their products, they offer a limited lifetime warranty. I've got 2 Bear Creek ARs here at home. I've also got their Grizzly, which is a wonderful sidearm. Highly recommend to you. Accurate, reliable, and highly affordable. Bear Creek Arsenal, a great firearms company, all American, based here in North Carolina. And they've got some incredible sales going for July, too. So don't wait. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com and use my name, Buck, for a 10% off your order sale. That's right. bearcreekarsenal.com. Use coupon code Buck for 10% off your order. Exclusions apply. I now want to ask on the VP side, Erin, do you think there's a VP that's definitely going to, or, that you think, I should say, is going to be the choice? Does it matter for the election who the choice is? How do you come down on the Veep stakes for Trump?
I think there are a lot of political pundits who would say, oh, he needs to pick a woman. He needs to pick a minority. It'll help him shore up the electoral base. That's just not really how it actually happens when voters show up to the polls. People aren't voting on the vice president. They're voting on the top of the ticket. So he needs somebody that can help serve the mission of his presidency if he wins in November, somebody who can help bring in money right now because fundraising is a crucial part of campaigning, somebody who can help carry the message on TV and at events, somebody who can go to those events and help recruit voters and volunteers and keep this movement going. If you look at the slate of people who have been out there so far and have names floated, you've heard Elise Stefanik, Ben Carson, Tim Scott, Doug Burgum. You've got a big list of people who are out there. But if you look at who would likely serve, in my mind, the best purpose for Donald Trump, it would be probably one of 2 people. One would be Doug Burgum. I think the CEO background that he has, the business background that he has, is really helpful. 1, for not only bringing in donors to the party, but 2, executing on work. That's going to be a different mentality that comes up to Capitol Hill to help negotiate on behalf of the president and the administration to get things done. He's also not going to try to outshine Trump at all, and he's probably not going to use it to try to catapult immediately into running for president in 4 years after that. I think Tim Scott could be an interesting choice because he does have the Capitol Hill credentials that, again, are really an important part of the vice president is being able to go up there. You're the president of the Senate as the vice president, so you do a lot of legislative work up on the Hill to make sure that the policy and priorities are getting done. Both of those could be really interesting. I don't think it would be, but I think that Glenn Youngkin would also be a really interesting choice, given that CEO background, given the fact that he could also bring in donors to the party and bring in dollars. I think those are kind of the two big things. Who's going to be able to supplement on the policy side and who's going to be able to supplement on the campaign side? I think any of those three are options, but right now my front runner would be Doug Burgum.
Interesting. Those are all names that are clearly at the top of the list, and so that all is no surprises there, right? I mean, I would expect you'd say those names. I didn't hear you mention J.D. Vance, though, and I was thinking you would. So why not J.D. Vance at the top of your list? Because I've been saying I think it will be J.D. Vance for months now.
The list is really big. It's not to say I don't think that J.D. Vance has a chance. I just believe that when it comes to what we're looking at, what we're seeing reported right now, who's kind of playing the race the best, I actually do think that's Doug Burgum. He's done a great job since he came out of the primary and standing behind Trump, being readily available, being out there, campaigning, being part of that team in a really aggressive way. Not to say Senator Vance hasn't, but Doug Burgum has in a really monumental way. What was it, Easter? You saw him walking out of Mar-a-Lago right behind the president and his family. He's very close to President Trump. So is J.D. Vance. But I don't know. I still think it's Doug Burgum. Listen, there could be a dark horse candidate that nobody's talking about, although that I doubt because I think Trump kind of likes people when they float themselves a little bit and kind of play this media game that we're seeing with some of these names.
Yeah, despite what some people are saying out there, I like radio too much, so I can't accept, as much as I would love to, the Trump VP slot. But that's
the ultimate dark horse, Buck Sexton for VP.
Sexton. I mean, Trump did say once, probably the best hair in radio, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, hold on a second. Hold on, is that like face for radio? But anyway, Trump's very funny. Erin, great to have you on. Where can folks go follow you on social media? What's the best place to hear more of your analysis?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Erin M. Perrine on Twitter. I'm there. I talk politics, sports, diehard Buffalo Bills and UConn fan, and a little bit of Bravo too. So a little bit of personality and a little bit of politics. The best Bravo show is Summer House. Fantastic season right now. Oh my gosh, best season ever. $1 Million Listing NYC is the correct answer. But it's all right. You're allowed. It's a great one. You're allowed to pick your VP choice. You're allowed to pick your best Bravo show. Erin Perrine, everybody. Erin, thank you so much. Thank you.